Lise Grande, head of the United Nations in India, thanks very much. Well, India is really a big space for doing social good. What are the big goals that UNDP has and the kind of work you're doing here?
There are 27 United Nations agency funds and programs that have the privilege of working in India, and we're working in many different sectors, supporting the government and civil society to address the big issues of the day.
Well, let's look at the Millennium Development Goals. Where do you think that UNDP has reached with them from an Indian context, and what lies ahead there?
What UNDP does in India is to support the government and civil society in their efforts to reach the Millennium Development Goals. You've seen some tremendous progress in India, perhaps most importantly in lifting 135 million people out of poverty. This is one of the biggest social achievements of our time. India has also made remarkable progress in a number of other areas, in universal primary education, in education parity at the primary level, in reversing the spread of HIV/AIDS, in bringing tap water to people throughout rural India. There are all kinds of impressive achievements that everyone in the country should be very proud of. India has done as well, if not better, than most other countries. There are a number of areas where India's progress is not as much as one would have hoped. Child malnutrition is very high. Half the population still defecates openly. Although there's been impressive progress in maternal mortality, the rate is also very high here in India.
Indeed, and some of these issues that you mentioned, while they are focus issues, they also remain some challenges, and probably true of what's happening globally as well. If you were to cite some of the key subjects of concern for India in the years ahead, and where UNDP sees itself doing more work, what would you pick?
I think there are three really big global issues at the moment: inequality, poverty, and climate change. On the issue of inequality, countries are more unequal now than at any time in the last 150 years. That's a startling statistic. And we see that not only are inequalities within countries growing, but inequality between countries is growing. There are a lot of reasons why this should be a major worry. Inequality undermines democracy, it threatens social cohesion, and of course it impairs development. I'm sure you're aware of the statistic that the top richest 1% of the world controls 40% of global wealth, while only 1% of the world's wealth is collectively owned by the bottom 50%. These are just shocking statistics. Clearly, there's something very wrong.
Indeed, and if that is true, then one would need to look at change, and some of that change would come through social good, the subject of this discussion. But perhaps there's an element and a role that social media could play. Do you think that there's a connector's role that's in place, and some work could be done by connecting people, NGOs, communities?
It's a great question. I think social media plays three really important roles. It's a way of broadcasting the issues that the UN cares about, issues that relate to child malnutrition, issues that relate to the climate, issues that relate to inequality and poverty. Secondly, social media is a fantastic way of linking the people that have solutions to the institutions and people that can bring those to scale. It's also a way of linking people who are working in one area to people in other parts of the world who are working on the same set of issues. And finally, social media is a fantastic way of bringing everyone into the big global discussions. The UN can often seem like it's an organization that's not really in touch with the people of the world, that it's kind of remote. But social media is a way of opening the UN up and bringing everybody into the discussions that matter the most.
That's very well put. Lise Grande, head of the United Nations in India. Thanks very much.